Hi everyone, welcome back to the studio for this week's episode of Tutorial Tuesday. Today I thought we would do a really fun sunset scene set in the mountains of Colorado, and we're going to be doing their state flower, the Columbine. So stay tuned for the very end because we're going to put in some really wonderful up-close flowers. But first we have to set the scene for the whole painting and get all those colors just right for the sunset. If you want to follow along, be sure to check the description below for the entire paint list. And right now I have my canvas dry. I'm going to put a thin, even coat of liquid white, and then we're going to meet back up here on the wet canvas. All right, my canvas is prepped with a thin, even coat of liquid white, and it's ready to go. To get this sunset scene started off, we're going to use a 1-inch brush. I'm going to use my 1-inch brush and go right into some Indian yellow, and we're going to pop in the sun right here. The sun is setting. We're in the Rocky Mountains. Let's do a little bit of kind of some light coming out. And then maybe we'll touch in just a couple of ideas of a tiny bit of that yellow. We'll go right into the bright red and alizarin crimson. And we'll just kind of surround this yellow with this color. Maybe we'll do a touch of that also down below. Something like that. And let's blend that with our blending brush. Make sure it's good and clean. Nice and clean 2-inch brush. You can just soften that. We'll deal with it a little bit later. And then you just want to create a little bit of movement because we're going to have some clouds in this sky. But they're kind of longer, a little bit more flat. Okay, now let's see. Let's do a little bit of alizarin crimson, just a touch of sap green. We're going for just a little bit of a brown color, and we're going to put in a few clouds. I like using this brown with alizarin crimson and sap green because it always looks like, I don't know, like, are you sure about that, Kaylee? But then as you keep going, it really works. So give it a minute, but we're going for a little bit of a brown. Definitely don't want this to the green side, so more alizarin crimson than sap green for sure. That's important. And then we're going to, what the heck, let's just fill in a touch of this down below. We're gonna have kind of a big hillside up here. We'll just kind of put some of these colors and get some of the directions. This big hill right over here. We'll just get some of this color going, and we can work more with that as we get closer. And then I'm going to blend some of this sky area. Now we're going to cool off this sky and really give it that kind of, the sun is setting in the Colorado Rocky Mountains, and it's cooling off just a little bit. Let's go right into our phthalo blue. Phthalo blue, get a good bit of that. And just a touch of Van Dyke brown. Just a tiny bit. And we're gonna just dance a touch of this up into the corners and we'll work it through. I just want it to be a nice, good, strong blue. That we're gonna start with. And then we're gonna soften it. And we can take a touch of this and incorporate it to our bottom. Now we'll blend again. All right, I think that looks good. Now we're gonna play with some clouds. Let's start with a little bit of, man, this is tricky. Let's do titanium white, bright red, and dark sienna. We're using all the colors today in the sky. Let's see what happens. We just want this to not be straight white. I'm going to grab some of our crimson too, just a tiny bit. And let's see what this color is looking like. Maybe, Something like that. Let's do some Indian yellow. Maybe Indian yellow, dark sienna, bright red. Just dance in some background clouds out here. Bright red, dark sienna. Just playing with these colors. Try not to get too much blue in the brush, and if you do, definitely clean that out. It'll just help. And we'll go straight into some titanium white here. On my messy brush, I'll just add some wispy clouds. We want these to be nice and long feeling here. And our light source is in the middle here. Now, let's take a little bit of white and just put in the sun. Scrape off the excess paint. And then we're going to blend all of this. Blending the clouds. Let's make sure we don't have too much blue on there. Right, now we're going to come back through here with a little bit of a lighter color, kind of a golden red, but still nice and bright. And we're going to bounce off a bunch of light in this area from our sun here. And let's just do a little bit so we can blend out the sun a little. Now, back with our fan brush, we're going to bounce a bunch of light around, nice and in a nice order from the sun out. We're getting all of our highlights on these clouds as we're moving away from the sun. We'll be picking up a little bit more paint. And just have fun. A little bit of gold now. And we'll just sparkle on a little bit. Nice peachy color up there in our blue. Looks real nice. There we go. Wipe that off a touch. Okay, now we're going to blend this working out from the sun. You just want to soften the backs. We don't need this to be extra crisp and have defined lines in the clouds. We're going for kind of a misty effect. And we want to draw the focus in to the foreground where we're going to have some really nice flowers. So we don't need this to be super extreme and seeing all of these clouds perfectly. We want it to be kind of have a little bit of a mystery to it. We'll soften these back. Just giving them a little bit of a tickle here and there. We don't want there to be too many harsh areas where there's a ton of paint built up. We want it to all move and flow together. Lift. And then get out the brush strokes. Okay, right up here in the top, I want to add just a pop titanium white and blue. We just want to add a tiny bit. Yeah, just a little bit of a light blue in there really makes it kind of pop. Isn't that a fun, bright, colorful, kind of a rainbow sky that we've got going on? I really wanted it to be nice and bright. And then we're going to work on our next layer here being a little bit of a mountain that's being just hit by the sun. We'll get our blues and alizarin crimson, a touch of sap green and Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, all the colors that we were just using. Then we'll pick up some titanium white and marble that. Okay, now let's build our first mountain way out here in the distance, and it's going to sit itself down right behind our next mountain, so we'll just let that one go and we'll build this up to a nice little peak. There it is. And I think we'll have this something like that. And maybe something like this. And then it just is going to come down somewhere to about there. let's blend the base of that out. I think when I was looking through some photos, I landed on this kind of idea, this scene somewhere near the San Juan mountain range in Colorado. So hopefully that's what we're aiming for today. We'll see. Let's soften this at the base. And then we're gonna lift up, keeping with the direction of this mountain out here and this way. It's okay that we are blending out this yellow here because we are gonna have some greens out here anyway. So we just wanted to have that for that little bit of extra harmony in our scene because we know it's there. Okay, now I think, what are we doing? I don't even know. I have an idea. Let's mix up a shadow color here. We've already kind of got one. Just get our mountain mixture and add a touch more blue to it. And some titanium white. Maybe mix up a couple varieties of it, and we'll start with the darker one. And we'll come all the way, our light sources here. So we're just going to throw in, let's do a touch more of our dark mountain, marble that in there. I like that. Nice and dark side over here, facing away from our sun. And we've got just some steep slopes over here. And same goes for these, nice and steep. Give them a little bit of movement and variety. It's far away. You only need a small resemblance. Now, our highlight color, we're going to mix up a nice peach color, bright red and Indian yellow. Marble that up, and then we're going to do one more, a little bit more bright red and much more titanium white. Make sure to leave those nice and marbled. And let's grab just a touch more alizarin crimson to this darker one. We'll use the darker one first, and we're going to pop on our bright sunset colors here. All of the sunset colors, really you could use any of them. I really wanted to go for this bright peach color. I just thought it would really pop. And I really like the way these end up looking when they're drying. Just popping in a little bit of light here and there from this sun back here. And it's just going to dance on the top and kind of tickle its way down the mountain. All right, now let's grab a touch more titanium white and go into our shadow mixture, and we're just going to dance this along on some of these tops and kind of pull through a touch more brightness in here. Now we're just going to soften all of this and try and bring up some of this light color that we have down in this lower area to really bring up some of the, bring out some of this sun color on the mountain. And before I forget, let's do just a touch more, a little bit more gold maybe here, right on the edges. I really want to make some of this pop out here. And we can just bounce that along and it'll just kind of pop in a few areas. All right, let's do a little bit more of our shadow right here, a little brighter. And we'll just kind of bring some of this around in the front. Let's just give it a little variety and change this so it's not all the same one angle coming down. You know, just add a little bit of variety. There we go. Now, blend that up. All right, welcome back. I just had a little snack and I'm gonna keep building this mountain over here. I wanna do kind of another hill that's closer to us. It's gonna be nice and dark, so we're picking up a good bit of this dark color and it's gonna run right along this. Something like that. Maybe? I don't know. Let's do this. Oh, this side will be coming this way. And then kind of curves around. Something like that. Okay, now let's just get rid of some of that and bring up this softness from the light and liquid white. Blend it back just in the direction that we want it to be going and heading. Then we can just soften out the base everywhere else. Nothing too crazy, just a little bit of a blending there. And then I think I'm going to take this hill and it's going to be grassy. So we're just going to give it some hills. And then up top there's going to be a few rocks, titanium white, a tiny bit of our mountain mixture, Van Dyke brown, shadow color. And just bring some of that down, maybe on the back side of that mound. And we've got a little here. And they all kind of come together. Just get an idea of what you want. Put it up. Let's add some dark sienna to these highlight colors we had going over here, and a little bit of titanium white. Marble that. And we'll just drag down some highlights for our tops of our mountain up here. There's going to be a bunch of grass on this, so we just want a little bit of an idea. Nothing too crazy. Something like that maybe. Then I think I'm going to use use the 1-inch brush. And I'm going to tap into the sap green and our dark mountain mixture. Just get that going a little bit on the brush. And up here we're going to just work in some greens. Work them right over the top almost. Let's do just a touch more, kind of get a little darker color and bring it all together here. Then this lower area, we have another mountain over here, so this is going to be kind of more in the shadow on this lower area. So we'll just put in a touch of dark there. Then let's pick up a fan brush. We are using this one for the clouds. I'm just going to go right into some Indian yellow and a touch of sap green, and I'm going to pop in maybe a little bit more paint here so we can get it to pull off in a nice bit over here. Just tap in some bright greens. Right where the sun is going to be kind of hitting on these. Keep it nice and low, just some distant grasses. Then we can go into a little bit of our blues, titanium white, Indian yellow, and just bring some of that over the back. And bring some of this together. Now we can add just a touch, because I'm seeing it a tiny bit more. I want some Indian yellow and dark sienna right out here. Just a little touch on these rocks. Make them pop. Maybe we've got some sun just bouncing its way across here in a couple areas. Just a little bit there. Little more pops here and there. And there and here. Oh, that'll do there. Then just tap a little bit, soften it. And then we can kind of soften a few of these back a tiny bit. Not too, you don't have to get too crazy. You can just blend out some of those tap marks. Maybe okay, now let's do Let's do some rocks on this side. Alizarin crimson, phthalo blue, dark colors, all the dark colors. And then we're going to throw in right around the sun here a mountain that's kind of just coming down. There. And then we'll meet up with this kind of a little bit later here. Something like that. Let's do that. Then we want to really push in this paint. We'll bring it down. We have another mountain coming, so let's just get some paint in here. Now, nice bright highlight, bright red, alizarin crimson. There's just a bunch of our highlight colors that we had for our sky still in here, but I added a little bit of dark sienna. We're just keeping it going as long as we can. Now, right out here, we pop on a little bit of light. This one. Now, finally, right on the top. Then we're gonna have some grasses in here. Let's do a touch of shadow color, grab our mountain mix and go right into the titanium white, marble that up. And you've got a nice multi-shadow color. Just grab a touch of that. Highlight and pull it back. Touch more out here. This is our shadow color. I'll just put some of that in. Straight across, and let's blend it out. I still have a nice light spot here. Let's try and use that. I could just get rid of some of the paint and then bring up a little bit of hard light into, kind of just harmonize and disperse that paint. Really softens it up. Right. It's looking good. Let's work in a few more shadows in here. Maybe I want some pops of gold up here. A bright titanium white and Indian yellow. Just bring that color right over. Nice and bright there. And you can really tell it's getting the pop of that light. Maybe a touch right here. Work it in. There we go. Now let's do a little bit of work with our grassy colors here. I'm just going to go into the dark mountain mixture and the sap green and kind of work this over here. And give this nice little hilly area. Kind of goes into a little bit of some trees. Maybe and we'll just see about finishing this off here. And we can just kind of lift this whole thing. Maybe go through in a couple areas. And just kind of disperse some. Then we're going to come through with a fan brush and a little bit of a highlight color. And we're going to pop in a few bits of highlight, maybe a little titanium white. Maybe just where we think the sun is going to be glowing out here. A little darker down at the bottom, but still some greens. And we can just lightly tap out the bottom of some of them. You can just get that big brush right in there. Don't be shy. Just disperse it a little bit. And maybe there's still a little bit of snow up here in some of the shadows. Let's just bring some shadow mountain titanium white, marble that all up with some titanium white, nice and thick in some areas. You can cut across this big mixture here and just put in a few areas. All right, let's mix up a little bit of a dark mixture. Well, a little bit. We want a lot, actually. A good bit of dark here, or all of our dark colors in a pile. No titanium white this time. Mix it all up. Nice. And then we're going to throw in a big hill way up here, all the way down, all the way in front, just like that. Let's just establish this nice and dark line here. We're in the background, just straight across. Give it, a little bit of some wiggles and movement if you want to. Nice and dark. Now, this big hill here is going to be kind of moving in towards us. So, in order to get that illusion of this being very distant, we kind of have to build the scene. So, first we're going to just soften this out a little bit. You never want to leave these harsh lines. Even if you're going to put more paint, soften it. Then you can always add in, now you've got another layer here if you want it. And if you want to cover it up with more dark paint, you can do that too. But just set it up so that it's easier for you. Now we're going to use a little bit of our green mixture, sort of a shadow mixture, sort of a highlight. Well, it's not a highlight. This is going to be just more distant, so we're adding a little bit of liquid white to thin this down, and this will be kind of like our mid-tone. We'll come back in, do a little bit more highlight. We just want to create the idea of this hillside way out here. It's pretty far, and it's just nice and grassy. Really pretty, just being touched by little blips of sun, but really quite dark. Got a little accidental bit of flowers here. Let's just kind of clean some of that up. A little bit more titanium white and Indian yellow. It's still sticking for us. Let's get a little bit more, maybe here and up. I think just to put some fun, build the scene, set the tone, I'm going to go with my fan brush into some titanium white. Let's get some liquid white. And bright red. I had a little bit over here, just using that. Get it to come to the edge of the brush by wiggling it and pulling it straight. And we're gonna just tap in, I think, a few, maybe out here, way, way, way far, just some ideas of a few flowers. Maybe we'll go into the Indian yellow and get a good bit of that Indian yellow and liquid white. The liquid white is to help it stick, and then we can see where the sun is and just put in a few ideas of distant flowers. Maybe some bright red now and Indian yellow, a nice golden color maybe. Something maybe that's nice. Now we can just soften this out a tiny bit here. Maybe do a tiny bit over on this side of some more green, a touch of blue. Now we're going to do that kind of one more time. We're going to get some nice a dark color, the same dark color we were using for the mountain. We're just going to tap in some hills out here. Still heading in the same direction of down. But we just want to create a few layers of interest here. Just like some variety, Let's do that. Bring this down, down here. Then we'll Just open this up down here. Just get some texture. We'll worry more about that in just a second. Build this texture. And we're just going to use this all the way down, trying to make it a little bit darker as we get closer, and just adding more paint. And maybe we'll just really get that in there. Very nice. Now, I think we'll fill this with some of our colors. Get some sap green on the brush. I think I'm just going to keep using the 1-inch brush here and see how we can see if it works. Might need to get a new brush, but this is a little bit quicker, so I'm hoping that it'll do the job here. And we're just going to come in a little bit lighter. And pop in some layers here into our grasses. Thin it down if it's not sticking. And if you're having trouble or want it to look different, just get the brush to come into a fine point by wiggling it, and then you can get some more defined lines. It looks pretty nice when you do that. Let's just keep working this meadow down and out over here. Maybe another something like this. And we can go into some Indian yellow, maybe tap into some bright red here, and we'll just pop in a row of some flowers. You can get a little bit of a different color, some titanium white, and just add in a few ideas of some flowers out here, maybe some titanium white and our mountain mixture. It's kind of a lavender color. You just pop some of that in. Now I'm gonna just mix those on the brush, the titanium white, bright red, and our mountain mixture. And we'll pop in a few areas, just a few details. And then we're going to take the 2-inch brush and soften these back. All of these little tap marks in here with the brush create detail, but we just want to disperse some of that and just make it not, you don't want it too bright, because this is still further in the background. And we can always come back and add a few more layers if we want to, or just a few more highlights later. Let's just finish that out there. And over in this area, we're just gonna do grass. Just nice, soft, velvety grass. grab a little bit of liquid white if you need with the sap green. Touch in here maybe. And then we soften that back with the 2-inch brush. Now I want to take the fan brush and a little bit of Indian yellow, which I've run out of. Just mix that on the brush. Indian yellow, liquid white, and we have some sap green still on there. And we're going to pick out a few areas where we've got some highlights. We're going to push up to really bring out a few areas over here. Maybe there's just a touch down there. And let's not forget about up here. We are gonna have some nice bright grass in that meadow. Liquid white, bright red, Indian yellow. And just pop in see how we can just build this mountain out here just by giving yourself a few ideas. You can go all the way and get pretty good stuff back here. Let's do a little bit of blue and bright red. Just kind of making a nice little gray color. Let me just tap in a few little flowers or some thing here into the shadows. Soften it all back. Just pick out a few areas. Okay, now we're gonna do a little bit of flowers, just some Indian yellow on a sable brush. Good bit of that on the brush. And right out here, we're just gonna put in some nice flowers. Need a little bit of titanium white with that. Just out here, we're going to put in a few little ideas of some flowers. And then we can come back in with our fan brush and some sap green. And do another layer here. It's getting closer now. They're bigger grasses and you can see them. Just get some of this out. A little dark here and there. And now we are just using some dark here. We're going to put some up close flowers. Okay, right in this area we're going to start picking out a few areas where we're going to have our flowers, and I want to get out some of this green. So I'm just going to wipe off some paint. Flowers are always going to be chasing the sun, so we want to try and direction most of them kind of as if they're looking toward the light. We also want it to look cool. So just keep that in mind while we're picking out some of these areas and how we're directioning. It might be hard to see at first because you don't know what you're looking for, but we're just picking out some directions for the flowers. See, this one is going to be tilting out this way. Maybe we'll see the back of it a little bit. This does tend to be a little bit of a messy project. I'm sure you might have a different way that you want to do it, and that's totally fine. This is just what works for me because I really like to keep all of these colors to harmonize, and now they're always going to be there behind, so we're always working with that as a base. So right now we're just going to pull out a bit of the paint, so we're working with a fresh surface, and we'll be able to get some new colors in here. And maybe we'll have some more facing out this way. These flowers have really cool little tails, so I'm using that to help remind myself what direction the flowers are for later. Hopefully it'll work. I haven't painted this scene yet. I've had this idea and I've kind of tested out a few different theories or ideas I've had on colors and just haven't really set down on anything that I really like. So hopefully this doesn't completely fail, but I guess you all get to watch me completely fail if it does. So fingers crossed. Let's do a few more. And okay, now let's start by building some of these base colors here. I want them to be a nice bluish lavender. So let's get a fresh working space. Just kind of pile up that mess. Wipe it off. Phthalo blue and alizarin crimson. And we want a nice dark color, a little bit to the blue side. And just to test it out, let's grab some white. I think that'll work. Let's go just a touch more blue. Still a little bit more blue, I think. Let's do that. Now we're just going to put this dark color right in the center bottom area of these flowers and kind of work them out onto their little tail pieces. But mostly kind of working in the bottom area. This one's right at us, so we're just going to put in a nice big circle of our dark purple here. We're almost out of color, hopefully we'll have enough. Okay, now that we've got our colors in, let's just kind of soften out those edges a little bit. I think this one will have this maybe be straight on almost here too. Those will just pull out some tails. Okay, now we're going to do some of these background tails. Alizarin crimson, phthalo blue, a touch of titanium white. Mix that on the brush, and then we're going to thin it down just a touch. I just am using my brush wash, which has a touch of oil and dish soap in it. Works fine. Been using it for almost 4 years now, and it works great. So what we're going to do first is throw in some background, just some background leaves. Just angle the sable brush kind of in towards the center, getting our brush warmed up, getting this directional stroke warmed up, getting it ready. And we're going to just start working more of this color in towards the background of these flowers. And they're pretty big petals, so we're going to do 2 sides. Be sure to reload. Maybe some of them are curled certain ways, so we only see one side. That's okay. Titanium white, alizarin crimson, phthalo blue, got just a touch of bright red. And we'll just pull in a few. Let's drag a couple of these other ones and pull out some of this dark for our petals. We can do just maybe a touch more of it in there. It just wasn't getting it to show up, so we needed to put in a little bit more dark. So I'm just using a different sable brush. In all fairness, this big one isn't quite the same. I would use a smaller one if I were you. But this is still working. We're just pulling out some dark. On these. We just need to have more dark out here so that these light colors will show. So we're putting in a few ideas of some petals. Just the dark side, the back side. Gives us something to work with so that we can layer on top of it. Let's grab just a touch of green into this mixture, and we'll put just some faint ideas of some leaves down here. Kind of filling in all the dark areas with some variety. And then we'll pick up a smaller brush so we can get some more detail in here. Just the same sable brush. Alizarin crimson, sap green, phthalo blue. And we're just going to kind of put in some leaves. Now, let's see if we can get some of this purple to kind of show up now. Try again on these. Let's start with the ones in the background. Keep working it. A little bit more blue. Give them some tails. little bit more color now. We're starting to build these up. Try and get some direction on these strokes now that you're getting some contrast going. We really want to angle them back into the center. Okay, now I want to do just a touch more kind of dark colors down here. Just kind of get a little bit of this in. Maybe we'll have some more leaves coming in front, some dark leaves. Just kind of want to pop in. Now, some light green, liquid white, Indian yellow, sap green, and we're going to pull in a few grasses up here. Nice and thin so that it sticks. we're just trying to add a little bit of detail to kind of get the eyes in here. Don't want to distract too much, but we want to have some direction kind of coming down. Around in certain areas. And we can just build up some of these grasses out here. Now let's do just a touch more, just right out here. Little in the background, little in the foreground. Good. Now, the tough part. Let's do actually a little bit, no, we'll do it. It's gonna be tough. Gotta get in the mindset. You know, flowers are really, they're challenging. But they're really fun, so we're kind of going through this together today. Now, the inside of these flowers are more white, so we need white, but we can't use straight white. So we're going to use bright red. And hopefully we'll be able to make it work. Let's use a little bit of liquid white. We want to make it a little thinner so that it'll stick. And we're just gonna, I guess, give it a go. We'll see how this goes. Okay. Let's kind of round out this brush a little. If you have a round sable brush, you'll probably like that. And we're going to push the brush up and pull it down. Clean off your brush and push and pull it down. Let's try just a slightly thicker mix and we can come back in with another one, but we're going to do one right here in the front. And let's move on to another one out here perhaps. Push up and pull down. Maybe it has two sides here. And then kind of angled to the side there, and one down here. I think we need one more petal on it. Just right in front there. Let's do this one. Now let's get Just a touch thinner, kind of just working with the textures to see what sticks. Trying to wipe it off in between when you pick up a lot of dirt. Keep it going all the way through these. Let's just clean some of these up. Okay, now we're gonna soften these up a little bit, just down where they come into the center. Okay, now let's pick up a small sable brush and we're gonna go into liquid white and bright red. And we'll just pop on a few extra highlights on these, just a couple areas. Then we can do some alizarin crimson and phthalo blue. And we'll just put in a few more fun little details. Now we need just a little bit more blue in these. Let's go right into the phthalo blue, touch of Van Dyke brown. Just on a few. Let's work in a touch more dark blue. Now, I'm going to use a stiff bristle. I'm going to go right into the titanium white. I want this more to the red side than the blue side. Titanium white. And now we're going to pick out some crisp details and drag this thick paint, hopefully, right onto some of these edges. Okay, now let's do some last little bits on these to really finish them off. Indian yellow, bright red. And we need to give these a nice dark center. Now we're going to use cadmium yellow and Indian yellow. And you just thin that down. And we're going to push up some little bits in the middle. Where all the pollen is. Let's build these. I got a little carried away with the insides of the flowers already, and I think I want to build some more depth. Let's try some bright red. Bright red and phthalo blue. Touch of alizarin crimson. Now we went right into some nice rich phthalo blue, and we're just going to put in a few more dark details. Just saw a couple that I wanted to touch up. Now I had a little bit of variety on these petals, but I'm going to straighten out. Kind of clean up their edges. Now let's pull a couple out in front, right over the top of that orange center that we put in. The ones that are going to be out in front will be closer to us. Keep working with the white and bright red. Liquid white, bright red, very medium texture. but it needs to be brighter than the other color that we were using to put on some bits that are highlights. Let's pick out a few. Okay, now I'm gonna use this brush and just tap in some yellow fuzzies down at the base because there's different levels of these. Get some of that in all of those. Grab a touch of bright red, maybe even. Now with the script liner, we'll thin down the yellow with some white, nice and thin, and you'll throw out a few of these longer bits. It has to be thin. You can use some liquid white as well with the cadmium yellow. Just kind of give it a little bit of a flick. All right, now liquid white and our blue lavender, a little bit more. Now we're going to bring down a few of these tails again. Just in a few where they seem obvious, right here. Like this one. A little bit of white. Throw in some more grasses. Maybe something comes over the top of some of these. It's okay. Just get some things in there. Maybe out here we'll have, oof, caught that. Some dandelions or something, maybe. Just finish that out a little there. Maybe we need something red. Red and white. Maybe some Indian paintbrush. That's what I've always called it. Some green. Liquid white and bright red. A little brighter this time. Just a few highlights. Maybe some yellow. Some white. And yellow. I could even do something like some yellow flowers up here. Liquid white and just yellow, whatever you have left. You can go crazy with all kinds of little details in the background. Just all kinds of flowers and colors. Just give them a base color. Then they need a stem. Maybe some other starting. Just vary up your colors so that it sticks and shows up as contrast with whatever is in the background. Then we'll come back and kind of highlight them. All right, I think we are just about done. Maybe we'll add in just a couple highlights. See, maybe right out here. We could do a touch there, maybe. The rest of this I like. I think it's gonna dry really pretty. Be a nice soft scene. We've got a lot going on, so let's just let that go. Maybe put in a little bird in the distance. Try and get kind of a lavender color, I think would look good. Really thin. You can do all kinds of detailed birds. I just do really simple ones. Just to give an idea. Let's give this a signature. All right, I am all done in the studio today for this wet on wet oil painting tutorial Tuesday number 53. My name is Kaylee. I paint wet on wet landscape oil paintings, and you were just here for our tutorial Tuesday number 53 where I painted some Rocky Mountain Columbines. I thought this was really fun. It's a really cool version of some scenes. It just really makes me feel like I'm there, to get the flowers up close and the big mountains further out in the distance. It really just kind of reminds me of sitting there in that field, and that's what I wanted to do today. So thank you for joining me here in the studio. I'll see you all next week for Tutorial Tuesday live premiere and live chat at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you liked this painting and you're inspired by it, please send me an email, Kaylee@KayleeRakowski.com. I would love to hear from you. And also, please let me know in the comments below what you thought about this painting. We'll see you all next week. Smile and be happy, friends.